The super shelter is ready.
De ubicación, porque está muy...
There are a lot of brushes like this one right here with long, straightish branches. I can take a branch of each brush and I can start to build my shelter with it and not harm the plant. And I can use all the foliage to cover my shelter or to use as bedding. So I just need like 20 more of those. Haciendo una cuerdita. You have room for someone else in your tent in case of an emergency?
No, I don't think so.
There's a trick. This shelter is gonna become a KOCHANSKI'S super shelter. So the idea is to put a space blanket as a reflector from the inside and then a clear plastic that goes in the front. That way the heat from the fire will go through the clear plastic, get inside the shelter, and then bounce all around with this reflective material from the space blanket. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. A very important part of the success of this shelter is the insulation from the ground. No matter how good your shelter is on top, if you're not insulated from the ground, the ground will literally suck your heat from your body. So a good bed of dried leaves or green leaves, whatever you have at hand, is gonna be crucial for the success of this shelter. What I have here is a bag full of dried leaves, and I'm gonna need about 3 or 4 of these bags in order to make my bed. It's gonna be like a nest. Ponerlo aquí para que se vaya secando. So here's the bed practically finished. A lot of dried leaves. I even have a pillow. My backpack turned inside out, filled with leaves. Now what's left to do is to put the clear plastic over the entire thing. Close the gaps at the bottom with more dried leaves and some foliage. So I'm gonna cover the whole thing with this. Something I got at a paint shop, Comics. It's like a plastic that you use when you paint your house to put on the floor to prevent your floor from getting paint all over. 4 meters by 2.5 meters. Let's see how this works. Well, it looks like the super shelter is ready. The painter's tarp or plastic thing works perfectly to cover the entire shelter, and it's not white, it's actually a little bit see-through, transparent. Check out the inside. I ended up using the poncho as a moisture barrier from the ground. So this is what it looks like inside. Here's the heat reflecting from here. Pretty cool. I think this shelter is gonna work really well. Cold spot, my feet, because that's the ventilation. There's a gap that's covered with plants, but we need ventilation here. This is so cool. I can open another gap right here in case it starts getting too hot. I'm gonna leave it open from here and on my feet just to avoid carbon monoxide intoxication if I seal it up all the way. Quite comfortable in here. Sure, I'm gonna have a good night's sleep in here. Nice and toasty, especially with a big fire in front of me. But I can already feel the heat coming from the back. A little bit. I feel cold air coming through here and heat on my back. So it's actually working cool. We're preparing dinner and we're having some chicken wings. Marinated, delicious chicken wings. We brought 12 of those and a couple of baked potatoes, courtesy of Joselo. Potatoes seem to be ready. Oof. Some chipotle salsa on the potatoes. Make myself a couple chopsticks. The chipotle salsa and the cheese take the baked potato to a whole other level. I think wings are done too. Perfect. Let's try one of the wings. Wow.
Wow.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Delicious. Good morning. It was a pretty decent night. I didn't have to use my emergency sleeping bag. This right here. I had it just in case it got really cold, but it didn't. I had to get up at around 4 a.m. to restoke the fire, and then it lasted like 3 more hours, and around 7 a.m. the fire kind of died down and I started to feel it right away, but I was too asleep to get up again and restoke the fire, so I took it like a man. Which means that the shelter works quite well by itself. If you have a fire, it works so much better. But at the hours of dawn when it's the coldest, I didn't restock the fire and I didn't really needed the emergency sleeping bag. So it's really good. With my own body heat, I was able to keep relatively warm enough that I didn't have to get up and restock the fire. I think the coldest we got this morning, it must have been around 5 degrees Celsius tops. So it wasn't like super freezing cold, but it was a little bit chilly. The shelter worked perfect. Talking about smoothing it, we have some gorditas for breakfast. Filled with cheese and ham.
Ham.
Cheese and ham gorditas. Gracias, Joselo. Chipotle salsa. Oh yeah. Made in Oaxaca. These gorditas come with some sort of chile paste inside. You can eat them as is, or you can add whatever you want. Like today we added cheese and ham. Buena la salsa. The chipotle salsa is so good. A little bit spicy, a little bit sour from the chipotle, and the gordita made with maíz nix tamalizado is crunchy, thick, delicious.
Hot, hot, hot. Qué rico.
La de aquí, así. Good.
Very good. ¿Qué? ¿Qué hubo? ¿Se acabó?